Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Wrestling Addicts right here on this station. I'm your host, Jimmy Anderson, and joining me, as always, a fellow Wrestling Addicts, the great sports Morpheus, Rich Walker. Big Rich Walker right there. And to his left and my immediate right is fellow quarter-of-a-century wrestling addict, Rafael Guzman, at Lito187 on Facebook. And Al is absent this week, but he'll be back real soon, so you guys stay tuned for him. Now, big hot topic here in the wrestling world, and that happens to be CM Punk. He's everywhere. Yep. He's making news every 7 seconds, it seems like, on the World Wide Web. And as you guys know, he had just a massively publicized departure from WWE, of which we thought initially that he just walked out without notice. And for that, I want to apologize and retract some of my comments about him being a quitter and things like that. And now we know the full story thanks to the Art of Wrestling's Colt Cabana podcast.
Or a quieter, like people were saying, oh, you're a quieter.
A quieter, yes, that's right. I think people who can't spell quiet should be banned from social media, quite frankly.
People who can't spell quitter should be quieted.
Yeah, I should just quit it. People need to learn to spell anyway. But CM Punk learned to wrestle. That's something that he learned. Mm-hmm. And let's just give a.
Or still is.
He could be, absolutely, if he ever comes back, which I doubt. But let's just go through some quick stats right here. Believe it or not, guys, he started on the backyard wrestling scene with his brother.
Wow.
They had a falling out, something
His
about
brother?
money embezzling or something.
Wow.
And then he debuted professionally in 1999 on the indie circuit, worked his way up to Ring of Honor, then TNA, Total Nonstop Action from 2002 to 2005. He was in Ohio Valley Wrestling, that's WWE's developmental territory, or it was at the time, for the next year from 05 to 06. Went to WWE's version of Extreme Championship Wrestling, although it wasn't very extreme, but he was a star there from 06 to 08. And then for the next 5.5 years, he made it to the big time, the main roster of WWE, of which he was the champion several times, and is currently the 6th longest reigning champion at 434 days. Right. Now, if that's not a big accomplishment, I don't know what is. I mean, that's the 6th longest reign. You know, and to me, that's just incredible. Get your guys' thoughts. Richard, I'll start with you. Your general thoughts on CM Punk as a talent, as a performer, mic skills. He had a lot. He had the whole package, didn't he?
Absolutely. The total package. The charisma, the mic skills, his abilities in the ring speak for themselves. And this guy can work. This guy can work. He can work the crowd. He's one of the few guys that you can fully cross over as a full-blown heel and as a full-blown baby face, and he goes over either way. The guys, he's an amazing talent, and I think he would have had, because he's not going to get in now, obviously with the state of his departure, but he would have had a Hall of Fame career had he, stayed with the WWE.
Rich? Rafael.
It sucks. As a wrestling fan, it sucks that he's not with WWE right now, but as you guys said, he's had a good career. From the start from ECW, then to the main roster in WWE, and he had so many personal issues with WWE, which if you guys are aware or not, there was a podcast recently that he was a part of. There was one podcast and a follow-up podcast, and he pretty much explains a lot of it. Right. And he's not a quieter or a quitter. Basically.
That was the Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana, wasn't
Correct.
it? Which I mentioned. Yeah.
Yes. And he pretty much explains a lot of stuff there as to his unhappiness and the reason why he left, and his decision just recently announced to go to the UFC, become an MMA fighter.
An MMA fighter, which to me is quite different from being a wrestler.
Huge difference.
And we'll compare and contrast that later. But as far as his ring skills go, I mean, they were top-notch.
Big time.
I think one of the problems, though, is that he was a product of the wrong generation.
You think so?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. To me, he was more of an Attitude-era guy who tried to fit into this PG thing. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
His wrestling skills, though, sort of more or less kind of belong in this generation. As you guys know, WWE now contests longer matches. Back in the Attitude Era, as you guys may remember, there were maybe 3 or 4 minute matches. So he wouldn't have had as much time to shine in the ring as he would have on the microphone. So mic skills, Attitude Era all the way. But PG didn't quite fit as well because, you know, people are going on about John Cena with, you know, the kids, and then you have Eddie
And he's better.
Edward, Brock Lesnar, and all that.
He's better than John Cena.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said John Cena. I fell asleep for a second.
And I'm not trying to hate on John Cena because
I am.
my daughter's a big John Cena fan or whatever. But I mean, he does a lot for WWE, you know, the Make-A-Wish stuff and
You can't see
all that,
me.
yeah,
We don't
all
want to
that
see
stuff.
you.
But at the end of the day, like, I want to see a really good wrestling match, and CM Punk gave us that. He gave us, you know, the mic, you know, the heel turn, the face, all that stuff. And now that he's gone, I mean, I don't know.
One of the few shining stars that they had left. I
Yep.
mean, WWE continues to trip over its own feet when it comes to talent.
Yes.
This is a guy that they should have the hand in the ball right now. You know, you for those of you who follow the show, you know what's coming right now. Why do you have a guy like Edward Lesnar driving the bus right now when you have a talent like CM Punk that could be? You have to find a way to make this work.
What's wrong with Cena? You're tired of it?
I'm tired. We're tired of Cena. I mean, Cena
Amen.
is the same lame gimmick over and over again.
So would you rather see the Red Rooster?
I would rather, yeah.
Go ahead and bring him.
I'd rather see the gobbledygooker than to see John Cena.
John Cena's
Bring Pete Rose back. Anything, anybody.
John Cena's been doing the same character for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's getting
lame.
tired.
It's lame.
Even Hulk Hogan didn't do it for that long.
Right.
He came close, but
Right.
but even he stepped. You know, he went to WCW, but
And Hogan at
when
least
there was
spaced it out. Like every time you turn the damn TV on, it's John Cena doing the same lame
You know,
move.
CM Punk actually outsold John Cena in merchandise.
Yeah.
sales.
He did.
He outsold him in sales. He did all the appearances. He pretty much did everything, but, you know,
he did make a wish too.
yes, he did. But
How many of you guys know that he did make a wish? Probably not very many, because John Cena is the poster boy of WWE because he doesn't complain and he's the big baby face and all the kids love him and everything. But
CM Punk speaks up. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He
right.
doesn't stay quiet.
that's one of the things he's mentioned in his podcast. He talked about what he felt he was worth, and at some point, and I agree. He was a main event caliber wrestler. He should have had the main event at WrestleMania with The Undertaker. It was considered a double main event, as some of you may know, you know that. And then there was the
I don't buy the whole double main event.
No.
exactly. That's exactly what he said. I mean,
Right.
you've got one main event, and it's the one that goes on last. But usually, you politic to get your way into the grand.
Which in his podcast he admitted. He's like, I don't like to use the word politics or whatever, but he's like, I tried to politic my way into getting the main event because he felt like he had no choice but to do that.
Yeah.
You have to at times.
Yeah.
That's in WWE.
Sad state
That's
of
the
affairs
sad.
in WWE. Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to.
And now I got to ask you guys this. Based on that podcast, there were times where, you know, him talking about, you know, I was worth $1 million, I was worth this much money or that much money. To me, I started to kind of see some arrogance in him, entitlement.
I didn't.
Do you guys think
I'm gonna have to
that it
disagree.
was deserved?
Absolutely.
He earned everything. He earned
Yeah.
every dime that he got. And then, in fact, I don't think he probably
They
didn't get enough.
shorthanded
They
him.
shorthanded him.
So to play devil's advocate, though, you on my end, some of it sounded like arrogance, and you guys don't
No,
see it.
not at all.
But he could back it up though. He backed
He
it up.
delivers.
He delivered. That's just the bottom line. It comes to delivering. It comes to, you know, putting people in seats. You know, getting pay-per-view buys, and the pay-per-views that he main evented outsold in sales or in pay-per-view buys some of the pay-per-views that John Cena main
Right.
evented. Even the pay-per-view that The Rock and The Miz main evented, was it Survivor Series or SummerSlam? I don't know, one of those two. I forgot which one it was. That pay-per-view didn't do as good as they thought it would. But the pay-per-view that CM Punk main evented, which was I think TLC or one of them, that one actually did better in pay-per-view sales. So that goes to show you that he does deserve, you know, all the accolades, you know, the bonuses and everything else.
So don't feel it's gone.
He's
to
a
his head.
homegrown superstar that earned his way to the top. He crawled from the very bottom. He's not entitled. If any, we're going to talk about entitlement and arrogance. We're going to talk about Edward Lesnar, because he's the guy that came in that didn't earn anything. That he just was solely based on his appearance and his athleticism, and was given a WWE championship, which is comfortably resting on his sofa right now next to Sable, because it's not being used at all.
And he's getting paid.
And he's getting paid.
I think the unfortunate difference is that Brock Lesnar doesn't have as big a mouth in public as CM Punk does. Maybe that's why CM Punk comes across
They put him with Heyman. Heyman's the mouth.
CM Punk, quote unquote, says he's a-hole.
Nothing wrong with that.
Why?
There's nothing wrong with that. The difference between being just a straight a-hole that doesn't provide anything, doesn't bring anything. This guy brings the goods.
Oh, I agree.
Delivers.
Yeah.
If you deliver, then to the victor goes the spoils. I think he had. I like guys with a little edge to them. Guys with a little attitude. You name me one guy in any endeavor that's been successful and didn't have an attitude about him. They didn't have a little bit of
you got to be a jerk.
You have to be it's a little bit. I don't think it's jerk. I just think that you believe in yourself. You are so convinced that you are so damn good that it manifests itself. There's no one that's been successful that's been at the top of their endeavor that didn't believe wholeheartedly that they are the best at what they do. That's not arrogance. That's confidence.
Well, what about humility? When does humility come into play?
What does he have to do to humble himself? He crawled from the bottom. How more humbling can that be? To crawl from the very bottom, to scrape your way in, to barely make rosters, to go do independent shows for $50. But I mean, that's humbling.
I'm talking about in his interviews is what I'm talking about. He doesn't show as much.
No, I think he was telling the unfiltered truth. And that's the opposite side. We got too many people that kiss ass. We need people that tell it like it is. We need more CM Punk kind of people.
Which is okay, I think, to tell the truth. But sometimes it just seems a little too much. But I tell you what, here in just a little bit, we're going to be talking more about CM Punk's career, as well as his on and off-air persona over the years. And that's all coming up when Wrestling Addicts continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. I'm Jimmy Anderson along with Rich Walker and Rafael Guzman. And keep in mind, follow us on social media, please. Facebook, The Wrestling Addict Show. We're growing. We've got over 200 members going strong, and we're growing just about every single day. Twitter is @WrestlingAddicts. Okay, there's no G in there. And for further information, we may put that on the screen for you. I think we will. Won't we, Rich?
You sure will.
Yes, and Rich works his butt off editing this program. Let me tell you, he does a great job. And Raphael, you do a great job. And now he's always here except for this week. He does a great job. And Mitch Brock over there, he does a great job in the booth. Mike Tula and Chuck Anderson, and I'm just giving a shout out to the crew, the whole crew. Yeah, absolutely.
Mike
it's a team
Rodriguez
effort.
made
Man.
all
Mike
the
Rodriguez.
logos and
How did
everything.
I forget Mike Rodriguez? I can't believe that. I'm sorry, Mike. He's not here either. I guess he's feeling a little.
They're here in spirit, though.
They're here in spirit. Amen to that. Yeah. And we were talking about CM Punk's career, his attitude. And yes, I do agree. When you are a success, I mean, you've got to be confident, obviously. But let's talk a little bit about his out-of-ring persona. When he does interviews, when he interacts with the fans, I've noticed that over the years, there have been problems with some of the fans and the way they feel about his attitude. Sometimes they feel that he's not very respectful to the fans, that he doesn't give autographs where autographs are due. And sometimes I can understand.
He talks about that in his podcast.
Yeah, okay. Well, which maybe you can fill
Yes.
us on a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, in his podcast, he says that they're always tweeting about him being a jerk or an a-hole, as I said earlier. He's like, why don't they ever tweet about the fans that I took pictures with, the fans that I give them autographs? He's like, one guy said something bad, it went like, I guess viral or whatever. How come the other 5 people that I give them autographs or took pictures with them, nobody knows about that? And he said the guy was like, he called him, hey, Phil, because that's his, his name.
Yeah, his real name.
And he was with his wife, AJ.
AJ Lee.
And
WWE diva currently, by the way.
right. And it just goes down, I mean, he's out at a game and he wants to enjoy himself with his wife. And out of respect to a fan, of course he's gonna, give him an autograph or whatever. But for someone to come up to him and just expect it out of nowhere, like, hey, let me take a picture with you, dude,
That I agree with.
He felt like he was being disrespected, and that's why.
I agree with that. There are some fans who, I guess, feel entitled.
Way over the top.
Yeah.
Right, I feel too entitled. Like on Facebook, I think he mentioned something about he does have the right to block people on his, or his Twitter, excuse me.
He has
his
a power.
Twitter. He has that power because it's his house, it's his window, people are screaming, and he can shut that window.
Right.
I agree with that. I think the fans should be more respectful to him as well. But like you said, hey, Phil, can I get a picture? That's not the way to do it.
That is the wrong way to approach a guy.
From what I understand, they don't really want to be called by their real name. They want to be called by their wrestling gimmick, in some ways. It's kind of disrespectful in some cases.
Well,
you were right.
Kind of creepy because you think about it. I mean, he's known across the world as CM Punk. For you to take the time to go do the research and figure out, oh, his name's Phil, and call this man by his government name in public, that's kind of creepy because he's used to being called CM Punk over and over and over by all the fans. This one weirdo is going to call him Phil.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
But I will call Edward Lesnar Edward.
Well,
that's
first,
for a reason.
his first name really is Brock, right? Brock Edward.
Well, I call him Edward Lesnar.
call him Ed.
He has to earn Brock back.
You could call him Eddie.
Yeah, that's
Makes
not
a
bad.
little
That's not bad.
Eddie, because he thinks he's Brock the Monster.
Yeah.
He's more like Eddie Munster.
Edo.
But in any case, sorry.
you guys are just like some Brock Lesnar haters or something.
Edward Lesnar.
Well,
Edward. He's got to earn Brock back.
I feel like I had put my foot in my mouth thinking a part-time champion might be better. But the problem is I didn't think he'd be this part-time.
It's not part-time. It's no time.
It's right.
Yeah.
I thought he'd at least come out on Raw or something and cut some promos for Christ's
Raphael
sakes.
and I have had more exposure to the WWE Universe recently than Edward Lesnar.
Yeah.
I think CM Punk has had more exposure to
He has.
That's pitiful.
The Bunny has put in more work than Edward Lesnar.
Don't
bunny.
Don't get me started.
Come on.
Do not get me started on that.
That's
Come on.
That's another show altogether.
Yeah, don't get me started on this.
I mean,
Just saying. I'm sorry. That was your random Edward Lesnar rant for the day. Let's get back to the show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's get back to CM Punk. I've heard stories about fans bothering him in the early wee hours of the morning when he comes in from a flight. Hey, sign this, sign that, sign this, sign that. I mean, let me ask you this. Do you think he at least owes it to be respectful to the fans?
Yes, he does. And I think that if you approach him in a respectable way, like if I say, hey, Phil, or if I say, oh, hey, CM Punk, nice to meet you, I appreciate all what you do for the fans or whatever.
I can tell you from experience because I'm around professional athletes all the time. they do not like to. They like their space. Okay.
Right.
Because there's always this layer of space between the fan and the performer. You know,
Correct.
if you're on the field, they're in the stands. If you're in the ring, they're in the seats. They always want, you know, some type of boundary. And, you know, if you don't respect this man enough to respectfully approach that boundary without, you know, doing some weird junk like calling the man out his name and, you know, doing, and also the other thing that some folks look at, they don't get knocked out. Because I see people like grab and touch athletes and stuff like, you don't do
But
that kind
at the
of
same
stuff.
time, you don't know what someone's gonna do. You don't know.
Yeah,
There's
they don't
crazy-
know. They don't know. And then you got to think about the repetition. These guys get contacted over and over and over and over again by people wanting autographs and pictures and selfies and hug my baby and all this other crap. It gets boring after a while.
Isn't that expected though when you become famous?
Yeah, but it's
Yes.
That's kind of a price you got to pay.
but you don't owe everybody an autograph.
No, that's,
you don't.
That's true.
You don't.
As long as you show
And
respect
especially
to them,
if
they show respect
There's a
to
time
you.
and a place.
Right,
They have
and
autographs.
especially when he's out with his family, and this is where these incidents happen. When he's out with his family, leave him in his family time. When he's after a WWE event or autograph signing or fan event, then that's the time to do that. But if you see the man at the restaurant with his wife, leave him the hell alone.
I can concur with that. Maybe a simple hello
Yeah.
would be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you start
And
rushing up to him, sign this, sign
Usually,
that.
what you'll find, this is again going back to my experience, if it's okay, they'll invite you in. Oh, you want to take a picture? Yeah, come on in.
And
Take a
I'll
picture
tell you
real
what
quick, yeah.
happened, and he mentions this in the podcast, on the Code Cabana podcast. A fan was wearing a Code Cabana shirt at a restaurant. I don't know exactly where. And CM Punk told the waiter, I'm going to pick up his tab, and he paid for the fan's tab.
Wow. Now that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you, maybe I'm interpreting him wrong in some ways because of the fact perhaps he's living his gimmick outside of the ring, kayfabing what he does inside. Do you think that's
I don't-
possible with his interviews and with things like that?
I
that
don't-
he's sort of doing his character.
I
so
don't
to
think
speak?
I don't think so. I think he's just being himself.
Yeah.
Because even backstage, from what I gathered from the podcast, I don't think that there's a communication or a strong communication between him and some of the performers backstage.
He looks after himself.
Exactly. He's business. He's 100% business. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna do what he's got to do, and when he's done, he's ready to go.
Now, yeah, I think it's okay to look after yourself as long as you're not egotistical about it or try to hurt anybody. I
Yeah.
think you've got to keep safe as well because wrestling is a very dangerous
Absolutely.
sport. It's entertainment, but there's a sporting.
And he
aspect
mentions
to
it on his podcast that Ryback, or as he called him, steroid guy, that he purposely gorilla press slammed him, missed the table, and dropped him on a concrete.
Why would he do that?
And well, he said that he also kicked him on the ribs.
I heard that. But why would Ryback jeopardize somebody's career like that and do something like that?
Ryback's response on Talk Is Jericho, he said that if I was that dangerous, why would they put me out there with like Dolph Ziggler or with Randy Orton? Which is true. WWE wouldn't keep him there if he was that dangerous.
Really?
But at the same time, really? Okay, we're just trying to be the
But
Miz.
he's a WWE puppet. Let's call it what it is. I mean, Ryback is
Right.
He's a card carrying WWE puppet.
But Raphael, don't you remember when they mentioned to CM Punk when to put you in a program with Ryback, even though he's not ready and you can carry him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew he wasn't ready. They knew
Right.
darn
Of course
well
they
he
knew.
wasn't
Of
ready.
course they knew that.
So why would they, so I think, I don't think WWE's statement holds water about why, or even Ryback's statement, holds water about why would they keep me if I'm not safe. They
And
want to build him up, but they didn't do it.
maybe he didn't purposely do it,
I think it might have been ignorance. Like he just didn't know.
or it could have been ignorance.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I don't think it was intentionally done on Ryback's part. But I mean, come on, Ryback is what, like
He's still
300
green.
pounds?
He's still green.
And CM Punk is
Yeah.
what, like
Ryback
maybe
is
200
still
pounds?
very green in his technical skills in the ring. He's very green.
They need more time to develop.
Right.
They're putting these guys out there, as Al has mentioned in numerous times here on the show, and they're not ready. CM Punk was ready.
Big time.
Right.
That's the difference. He
veteran.
came up from the indie circuit through and I think it's commendable that he trained the right way after the backyard wrestling.
Right.
his experiences there, you know, because a lot of people backyard wrestle, I think they're going to be the greatest wrestlers of all time, but they don't have the commitment that CM Punk had, regardless of CM Punk's self-worth or how he portrays himself. Yes, his talent is definitely there.
Big time.
Yeah, and he deserved that main event with The Undertaker as the last match of the night.
That match should have been a main event. And
it was a great match.
It was a great match, and I don't understand why.
I think if any guy in the business currently deserved to have the Taker streak, it should have been CM Punk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely with his heelishness.
The promos that he shot.
Yes.
Just
Oh man, with the Paul Heyman.
with the urn. Oh my goodness, dude, that was classic.
That's what you call getting heat.
Yes.
And that's the right way to get heat.
And I mean
he gets the business.
They could have transitioned CM Punk into literally the biggest heel in history. If they put him over,
they were doing
Taker.
it for a while.
He was close already, but he would have been a off the charts heel if they put him over Taker at WrestleMania. After that promo, oh my God.
I would have hated him for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I already didn't. I mean, there was something about his character I just didn't.
See, he was supposed to wrestle. Had he stayed, he was supposed to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania this year, but he didn't, and he wanted the main event. He didn't want to wrestle Triple H. He's like, I've already done that. He's like, if I'm gonna wrestle the main event, let me get the main event.
Right.
Even if it's not the title, let me get the main event.
Right.
Even if he didn't win the title, but he did deserve that spot, and he got robbed of it. That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. And he's cut some of the best promos in recent wrestling history. And we're going to get to that pipe bomb. Yes, absolutely. Yep. And we're going to do that right after this quick message from BTP Sports here on Wrestling Addicts.
Let's start off with the NFC East because it seems like we have some fans in here that are NFC East fans, particularly Cowgirls. The New York Giants, we can kind of just throw them underneath the bus because that whole new offensive scheme.
Oh my goodness.
Eli Manning even though he has 2 Super Bowl rings, he sucks.
Oh wow!
I'm just saying.
That was harsh. That was a little harsh.
Straight up.
You didn't call any other quarterback in that whole division sucks. You made the Super Bowl champion suck. But you didn't use that reference to RG3's play right now.
How long ago was he a Super Bowl champion?
How long has Romo been one?
Shots fired.
Captain.
No, wait.
I have been fat, skinny, and fat again since the last time that Eli Manning was an effective quarterback.
Look.
We're talking about now.
And
what have you done for me lately, Eli?
Right. And
what have you done for me lately?
Romo just got off the surgery table. Okay. RG3 is still in a brace. So far as I'm concerned, the whole division sucks. So you're just picking the best of the suckiest.
Still proven otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, it's still a gimmick offense because I think part of the reason why they were successful is that they didn't have a lot of film per se on this Kelly offense. With the conversions that he made, with the adjustments that he made to the NFL level. I think that having a guy like Shady McCoy is a luxury. But, these defensive coordinators are smarter than you give them credit for. They studied this offense. They studied that team.
Not your defensive coordinator.
The Texans have just got a real deal quarterback in my case, which we said,
Go blue.
hey, where did Go Blue come from?
Ryan Mallon went to Michigan, man.
No, he didn't.
Goodness.
He went to Arkansas.
He transferred from Michigan.
He transferred from Michigan.
Because
He graduated
You
from
see,
Arkansas.
it's the Michigan rule. If you
in Michigan,
if you step off the plane in the state of Michigan and you do something, you're successful, then they steal credit for it.
who are your picks for the AFC South and why?
You gonna start with me?
Let's
Well,
start.
you the big mouth.
Yeah.
Simply put, Indianapolis Colts and the Three Dwarfs. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line on the AFC South. The Colts are going to win 12 or 13 games. They're going to have their way with the AFC South. It's not even going to be close.
Oh, wow.
Agreed.
So you just disagree with all of my defense that I have in Houston? Really? That's not a word.
The Indianapolis Colts are going to beat the Texans
That's
twice.
not what I asked
They're
you.
going to beat the Jaguars twice. They're going to beat the Titans twice. They're going to win 12 or 13 games.
They're gonna sweep the division.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
They're up 21-0 on the Texans right
I
now.
don't think they're going to that my team has had some changes and some flaws. That's honest. I think the Cowgirls' fault is they can't ever be honest with themselves. They're still confused. Which one? I don't know. You don't know what side you're on. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Oh, boy.
But anyway, the point is, I think the team will definitely do better than it did last year.
That's not saying much.
It's saying much because
You got off from the ground to your knees.
you should let me finish your sentence.
I'm just saying.
Y'all stay on y'all knees in the Cowboys.
Oh,
You two have built up quite a rivalry because we know that you are a Cowboys fan.
Well, of course.
And we know
Cowgirl.
that you, Captain, are a Texans fan.
Die hard.
And now you
And
live here.
we know that Cowboys slaughter cattle.
Cowgirls go get their old rings out
Oh.
the trunk and start shining them up. Man, remember when? Remember when? That's what they do every time they lose.
He has 2 division champion t-shirts.
I bet you they come out a lot.
You probably paid $150 for 2 of them because they're not used to success. They would happy to get She's got 2
And
t-shirts.
Tony Romo won you one win?
We got a division title.
I said
with Romo.
Tony Romo
We got a
won you
division
one.
title with Romo.
One. And then what happened in that playoff game?
Oh, he fumbled the snap.
It was
He won it for the other team. What? Say
It was
now.
against the second round
that's Seattle.
opponent.
That was that
when
Seattle year.
When we go to the playoffs, we get buys. We don't sneak and barter and beg and trade slushies for playoff spots.
Welcome back to Wrestling Addicts and this discussion of CM Punk, his career, and everything that's coming down to it, his departure, his second departure. Because he tried to leave, he almost left the first time, but then he came back a week later. And in this particular case, I'm talking about the summer of 2011. As you folks may remember, the closing moments of that Monday Night Raw after that John Cena match, he cut what is now called the pipe bomb, to end all pipe bombs, which he has come to despise that term because he felt it was just a promo, although a shoot promo, I suppose. They let him pretty much vent his frustrations, and then they re-signed him eventually. But some of the things he said, oh my gosh. I mean, it was hard to believe that he was able to call Stephanie and Triple H idiotic daughter for Stephanie, and the doofus son-in-law, Triple H, and the rest of his stupid family is going to take over the company whenever Vince McMahon dies. And he said, it's probably good if he dies. My gosh. And they even,
He actually exposed the transition to what became the authority.
Exactly.
So that was the first time that Triple H
authority was revealed.
Well, that's the first time Triple H was actually posed as the COO role because he was just a wrestler at that time.
right.
Right.
A lot of people didn't know that transition was already.
They didn't know that it was an actual role that he really does do behind the scenes kind of thing.
Right.
Because it was going to, they're the heirs
Exactly.
to the throne. And as far as Triple H, he might not be a bad heir. And we'll talk on another show about NXT right
Which he's
now,
doing a
is-
great job.
It's blowing the current WWE out of the water.
Out of the water.
Yeah.
Out of the water.
That's sad.
Vince is still stuck in his bubble from some of the old days or his misogynistic.
I'd
ways.
I'd rather have Vince Russo back doing the writing than these idiots that are.
I would. I don't know if I'd go that far.
No, because
but
Vince Russo, he did a lot of good stuff. We'll leave it at that. The Stone Cold character, a lot of stuff like that
but-
came from Vince Russo.
it did, but Vince ran with it and changed it to his mold.
But still,
Vince Russo inspired him to come up
yes,
with.
he had a lot of good stuff. Yes.
It was good ideas, yes, in some ways. But then when Vince Russo is on his own, it's a disaster. But he and McMahon worked well together.
Big time.
Let's face facts. Now, going back to that CM Punk, what we call pipe bomb. Now, remember when he said that he was leaving as the WWE champion. This was a similar situation that happened with Ric Flair, remember, in early
And he
91.
did leave as the WWE champion.
Although he came back the next week. But I learned...
No, he came back 2 months later. Or was it a month
thought it
later?
was
No, because it was
Wasn't the next week?
No, it was a no.
It wasn't the next week.
couldn't
No,
remember.
it was a match. It was John Cena versus CM Punk in Chicago, which is CM Punk's hometown.
Right.
and that was a really good match. And CM Punk won the title. And then the next night they had a tournament to see who's going to be the new champion. And then, of course, he
Gave
made his
it right
triumphant
back to Cena.
comeback.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. I couldn't remember the time.
Yeah,
It was pretty close.
But yes, it was close. It was maybe no more than 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
So they re-signed him.
Yes.
And another thing that I enjoyed hearing him acknowledge the other promotions. He said he would take the belt and defend it in New Japan Pro Wrestling or go back to Ring of Honor. You never, ever hear that from a wrestler in that company. They don't acknowledge the other companies like that, especially to take the WWE belt and defend it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, that was exciting to hear. And then he shouted out to Colt Cabana, "Hi, Colt, how you doing?" And then he started to go into a personal story about Vince McMahon with the Be a Star campaign and the bullying, anti-bullying campaign, which is a load of crap, if you ask me, because of the way they bully around people backstage, and that's a whole other topic. And you know what they did? He's talking. And there's no microphone. They cut his
They
mic.
cut him off, yeah.
I know in one of our previous segments we kind of touched on it a little bit. You said that he started getting way too personal.
Yeah, he did. He did. He really started to ruffle some feathers. I was interested. It was getting really good. I wanted to hear what he had to say.
I think the fans did too, but he also put down the fans. Remember, you guys are the ones that stick those programs of my face isn't on them.
Absolutely
and
right.
You stick them in at 3 o'clock in the morning, expecting you sign them on eBay, or you sign them and sell them on eBay because you're too lazy to go out and get a real job. That was funny. I can't help it because it's true.
He's true. He's right. He's right. The only reason the John Cena machine exists is because the fans keep feeding that ridiculous monster. Mostly the children.
Think about how long Hogan ran with Hulkamania and stuff. I mean, it ran for years and years. For years.
9 years.
So
9 and a half.
some people say John Cena's kind of like the modern day Hulk Hogan. So that's, I mean, as far as like
longevity,
yeah.
But longevity, yes. Absolutely right.
Like I said, I just think the difference is at least, Hogan made timely appearances. We're burnt out on Cena.
Absolutely.
Burnt out on him.
Because it's an every week thing. Remember, Hogan was not exposed every single week. If you watch the Superstars of Wrestling or Wrestling Challenge, you didn't always see Hogan.
Hogan was at all the big events.
Exactly. But not just that, but he would wrestle the house shows, but dark matches.
Right.
Cena's there every single week. We have to listen to Cena. We have to watch Cena. Okay. Another thing, we were talking about the podcast. Let's go into some of the WWE politics. Here are some things that some people may not know, is that it was CM Punk's idea to create the Shield.
Yep.
Wow.
He did say that in his podcast.
Yes. And you may remember that they took the idea away from him and put it on the other guys, and he had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Yep.
Not only that, but he loved MMA even before he's now making the jump to it.
Oh, I know where you're getting at.
Yes. He decided to wear fight shorts, and he wanted them to be sponsored. And people were willing to sponsor him, especially after his big shoot promo. And he had sponsors lined up and everything. And Vince McMahon's like, "Well, I don't know, Punk. That may not be a good idea, because it might insult the other sponsors of Raw." And then you know what happened? Brock Lesnar comes back. He's got sponsors on his tights.
Yep. And
Edward Lesnar.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also he wanted to walk Chael Sonnen down when Chael Sonnen was going to fight probably Anderson Silva, one of those guys. And they told him no.
It was in Chicago, too.
But then next thing you know, Triple H is walking Floyd Mayweather to the ring.
Yeah.
And CM Punk's quote was fantastic. It was, ask for forgiveness later, don't ask for permission now.
Right.
Just do it.
They actually messed him over also with a movie deal.
12
Rounds 2 was supposed to be him. He was supposed to be starring in that movie. And according to the podcast, he said that he mentioned it to Triple H, "Hey, we're going to be touring during that week, and I'm the champ. How am I going to do this and that at the same time? What are you going to do? Take me off the tour or not?"
He didn't give him a straight answer.
He didn't give him no. He kept telling him, no, it's not going to fall into place. And sure enough, they did, and they didn't say anything. The next day, it's Randy Orton doing it.
Every time Punk came up with an idea, they took it away from him and took credit for it. I think it's because of the fact that he stood up to Vince, he stood up to the regime and said, "You're wrong in this aspect, you're wrong in this aspect." Now, a lot of people would say, and have said you should be grateful that you were there. But at the same time, I think it's okay to speak your mind if there's something wrong in the
He's
workplace.
making the money.
Right.
He has the right to say something. He is making the company a lot of money.
Well,
millions of
Let me
dollars.
quickly ask you guys this. Rich, I'll start with you. Is there a right way and a wrong way to express your displeasure in the workplace? And do you think CM Punk falls into either of those categories?
No, I think there is. Obviously, you want to be fair and objective. I think that CM Punk, he bit his tongue for a long enough, and I think what we saw that night on Monday Night Raw was an explosion of him biting his tongue repeatedly, over and over and over again, ignoring issues and allowing things to just manifest and be as they are, and it reached a boiling point. Now, that actually turned in the wrestling business. That actually turned into be a great thing because it ushered in an entire new era. And like I said before, they missed the opportunity to go back to the Attitude Era.
It was it.
That was it.
That was
That
it.
was their window. That was their window to go back, but they missed it.
I really want to quickly mention, do you remember when he talked about, he did that promo where he made all those demands. He wanted his own jet. He wanted this.
The ice cream bars.
Ice cream bars,
Right,
yes.
right.
Did the fans, am I crazy, or were they chanting, we want ice cream?
Yes,
I was chanting, I want ice cream bars.
And you know what? And this, I don't give a damn what you people want. You remember that?
I know y'all remember those.
I think we
ice cream
texted
bars.
each other that night, like, dude, I want an ice cream bar.
Wait, I never had one. Were they good?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Hell yeah.
I never got to have one, even though we went to the summit one time.
Look, I got one and I grew up in the hood, all right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about his injuries also.
Oh,
the
my
mentions.
goodness.
Oh my gosh, the concussions, the broken ribs. Thanks to Ryback. He had a loss of appetite at one point. It was hard for him to sleep. He was going through insomnia. He had no passion for the business, and not to mention that staph infection, which was not treated. He could have died. And WWE's company doctor just said,
They
"Well,
said it was a fatty deposit.
a fatty deposit." I mean, that's the company doctor talking. At what point do you say, you know what, you're wrong, let me go to somebody else? I mean,
Well,
you've got to consult.
you remember in a podcast he mentioned that he passed those tests, and then they're like, well, we need to do something else to make sure you're okay.
He had to
and
run
he's like,
ropes.
so your tests are worthless then if I got to redo this.
He had to run the ropes. It was a joke. Their testing policy
Why
is a
would
joke.
they ask him to run ropes? He's not a rookie.
Exactly.
You ask a rookie to do something like
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just the machine of WWE, the pumping, the stock holding machine, so to speak, just wanting to save face.
that. What do you think about, what do you guys think about Vince McMahon's podcast with Stone Cold?
I didn't get to hear it.
I never got a straight answer from it.
No.
No, you never will get a straight answer.
He did apologize,
For firing him on his wedding day.
right, but he said, and I made a note of it here, that it was a coincidence. No. I don't think so. It was not a coincidence. I don't think so.
No.
And not only that, but he also talked about miscommunication and stuff like that. And they also, quickly before we have to break here, Vince McMahon said that to his stockholders that CM Punk was on a 2-month sabbatical. Instead, CM Punk actually left and they suspended him for 2 months. It was not a sabbatical. But that's what he told his shareholders, and then he was fired on his wedding day to AJ and Lee. And something I'd like to talk about. You think this is going to hurt her career, Rich? I'll start with you.
At some point, it's gonna start to bleed over because I mean, how comfortable can she be working in that environment and her husband is at war with WWE?
How about it?
It's possible. It's very possible. Only time will tell.
Because already she's losing her push. But do you think that could also be because she's kind of becoming tired and people have gotten used to seeing her?
She's got injuries right now, anyways.
That too.
So
Yeah.
she's,
She also made a slammy speech. Remember that?
yes.
It was almost cryptic, like she might be leaving or whatever. They keep saying that she's on her way out. It's the rumor that keeps going on. But what is not a rumor is that CM Punk will be fighting in the UFC, and that'll be happening next year. And we'll be talking about that right after this quick message. Stay with us.
Yeah, I'm the unmacho man, Jimmy Anderson, sitting in the seat, talking to you in the video scope for the wrestling addicts here. Sitting next to me is the big Hulk Rich Walker. Dig it!
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're gonna sit down in your chair every week and you're gonna tune in to Wrestling Addicts because we give you the best coverage out there, brother, about everything involving the squared circle and anything involving the industry. You're gonna watch this show and you're gonna get the best in the business, brother. You can guarantee you that.
You don't watch, I'll give you an elbow drop so bad it'll broke your throat just like I did Ricky Steamboat. Yeah, and if Rafael Guzman and Outrage Walker are out there, you guys better be watching this too, because you are fellow wrestling addicts just like me, the unmacho man Jimmy Anderson, right here on Wrestling Addicts on this station. Dig it!
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Anderson, the host of Wrestling Addicts, right here on this station every single week. I'll be joined by Rafael Guzman as well as Big Al Rage Walker. And we're going to be here. Wait a second, there's somebody coming on the set. Who are you? Get out of here!
Oh, man, what's wrong with you?
See, that's why I'm a wrestling addict. And I'll be. Go! The host of Wrestling Addicts, here with fellow addict Al Rage Walker, 13 times world heavyweight champion on the independent scene and a drug-free champion, I might add.
That's right.
No steroids.
Never.
No cocaine.
Never.
Nothing.
Never. All my life been drug free.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
I got to get your help on something.
Okay.
I've been having trouble sleeping lately, and since you're a drug-free guy, maybe you know a natural cure for insomnia.
Oh, let me see what I can do for you.
Welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. I'm Jimmy Anderson along with Rich Walker, Rafael Guzman, and sitting in here in our final segment is a UFC fan, a boxing expert as well, who will be here to talk about CM Punk's possible career with us, and that is Michael Tula. Mike, welcome from the booth.
Thank you for having me. It's a nice studio you got. A little cold, but nice little studio you got here.
Yes, he's one of the hosts of BTP Sideline to Sideline. We hope you guys are catching that whenever it airs on television as well. Now, we were talking about, before the break, the injuries that CM Punk has had, the multiple concussions, the staph infections, the broken bones, and his leg being messed up. Quite frankly, he's got a lot of baggage injury-wise coming into the UFC. And let me ask you this, and I'll go to you, Mike, that with all of these injuries, these concussions, these broken bones, do you think that will affect his fighting career in mixed martial arts, particularly the UFC?
You know, those are injuries that, you know, every professional fighter usually has to, you know, work around. This is part of the game. You know, he has a multi-fight deal signed already with the UFC. Dana White says he'll probably be in action. They're gauging maybe 6 to 7 months, so he'll have some time to recuperate and overcome those injuries. But you know, it should be. It's definitely going to be fun. You know, Dana White actually, he has a quote says that regarding CM Punk, he can definitely sell some pay-per-views, and he could be one and done, or he could have a career here. So he's going to give him a shot. It'd be interesting to see, you know, what he'll do and you know how successful he'll be. We know he's a salesman. You know, that anti-establishment personality will work wonders in UFC. So definitely something to look out for. I'm in.
I'm excited too.
I'm excited too.
I'm definitely.
What about the age factor? He's coming in in his 30s.
36.
36. A lot of guys don't come in that late, do they?
No, not really.
Not really, but you know, in regards to wrestling, there's been you know, a laundry list of, you know, one and done guys. So Dana White alluded to that already. But you know, there's very successful, you know, wrestlers turned MMA fighters. Obviously, y'all talked about Brock Lesnar beforehand. There's Frank Shamrock. You know, he was definitely one of them.
Ken Shamrock too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ken Shamrock is actually who I wanted to talk about a little bit. He's 26-12 and two draws. He had a rivalry with Royce Gracie, arguably one of the most you know, influential MMA fighters.
Oh yeah.
You know, in the history of mixed martial arts. You know, so definitely there's a predicate and establishment for both ways. He could be one and done, or maybe maybe he got a superstar in the making. But you know, he's definitely going in the welterweight, middleweight division. There's a lot of competition there. There's a lot of opportunity, you know, for him to make a name for himself. Obviously, we don't know who his first fight's going to be, but rumors about him fighting the Green
Jason
Power Ranger.
Power Ranger.
The Green Ranger.
Green Power Ranger, man. Hey, I'm already signed up, ready to see that. I mean, this is like a wrestling match in the octagon, so I'm down.
See, that's the thing I've noticed is that Dana White is treating it a lot more sports entertainment based with the promos that the people are cutting and the face-offs where they're right at each other's face when they start.
And I'll tell you why he's doing that, because one, he's going to the UFC fans, are definitely excited, but he's got to try to capture the WWE fans and the wrestling fans.
Right.
So I don't know if he's going to borrow from the wrestling type promo for it, but he's going to try to cater to those fans.
Right.
As far as attraction wise.
Right.
And he should,
Right.
because there's money there, there's attraction there, and people want to see that stuff.
Big time.
And the difference between UFC and boxing is you can incorporate and you can push in more fights in a single card for UFC mixed martial arts than you can boxing, because the fights, they're not that long. 5 3-minute rounds, 3 5-minute rounds.
True.
So, and they can be over just like that too. So Dana White has not much to lose. He's got a lot to gain. Apparently, these two guys, Jason David Frank is his real name. I keep calling him Tommy.
Just call him the Green Ranger.
Or the Green Ranger. Yeah.
Green Ranger.
Green Ranger.
But apparently they have, he's 41. He has a 1-0 MMA record, and they were considering fighting each other for a long time. Apparently there's a lot of fan interest already. So there's built-in interest. They've been touring the Wizard World Convention together.
Yes.
So there's already a built-in interest in there, and I think Dana White's just looking to maybe capitalize on it, and it's low risk too. And like I said, I'm interested. I'm down.
Well, Mike, wouldn't it be best if he fought somebody at his caliber, 0-0 fight, 2 rookies at the same time? Or would that not be as exciting, do you think?
It's got to draw.
Yeah, definitely. He's got to draw.
So his name alone will not draw, you don't think?
Of course it
Of course
will.
it will.
That's what I'm thinking.
But there's something about him, and he's fairly green too. Tommy. I don't care. I'm going to call him Tommy.
Well, he calls him Edward Lesnar, so go ahead.
He's fairly green too, and they're both of the same. I don't want to say ilk, but of the same mold in regards to
Entertainers.
entertainers trying to come into combat sports. So. Depending on how much money that gets, maybe CM Punk, he turns out well, he has a good outing, and that can lead to something else. He has a multi-fight deal already, so he's set.
It's going to be fascinating to see him make that transition.
Yes,
Because
he will.
some wrestlers have, like Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, but some UFC guys, in particular, Ken Shamrock you mentioned, as well as Dan Severn. You remember Dan the Beast Severn?
Dan the Beast.
Yes.
Now, he didn't make the transition very well, but Ken Shamrock did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And perhaps you remember their fight in May of 1996. It was Severn and Shamrock, 2 of the biggest and baddest, and it was a flop. You remember that fight? Wasn't it in Detroit, as a matter of fact? They were chanting for the Red Wings because the fight got so boring.
Wow.
So it was like just a 20-minute fight. It wasn't the round-by-round base at that point. So I think both had better wrestling careers they had. But Ken Shamrock, the baddest man on the planet, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the problem with mixed martial arts. You get to these boring fights is when you have just 2 wrestlers going at it. That's equivalent in boxing if you have 2 counterpunchers who don't have a lot of power going at it. You're not, they're both kind of waiting for something to happen. I'm not too. I know I'm looking at CM Punk's background. It's he has no amateur wrestling background, but he has background on Kempo, and
Yes, he does.
He's familiar with a little bit of jiu-jitsu too.
That's correct.
Yes.
So, to what extent, I don't know, but we're all here to find out. But his jiu-jitsu should definitely come into play, and hopefully, he's got 2 different. He's coming in with multiple skill sets. That's good. James Toney, professional boxer, tried this once. Going to the UFC, he fought Randy Couture, and man. I guarantee you CM Punk is going to have a 10 times better outing
Now, let me
than
ask you.
James Toney. And he was talking so much trash. I mean, he got, boom, out of there in no time.
Let me ask you guys this. One of 2 things is going to happen, obviously. Either he's going to succeed in the UFC or he's not, right? We could all agree on that, right?
Absolutely.
Let's suppose he succeeds maybe 2 or 3 years. And at that point, decides to go back to WWE. Do you think that it would be fair that at that point they would have to pay him obviously more money, and he would be able to get a part-time schedule like Brock,
I think he,
aka
Edward.
Lesnar.
Yeah, I think you damn skippy that he should be extended that opportunity. If he is successful in UFC and goes back, I mean, he's gonna be an off the charts draw. He already is a big draw, but he would be just incredible.
If he goes back, though, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to go against everything that he stands for.
That's
at the
true.
moment. It's almost like he's going to be a sellout. Because, and just about everybody goes back, but I'm hoping CM Punk is the one that keeps his word. Because
I'd like to see him fight Vince, maybe.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that would be good.
Kind of like Brett and Vince.
I'd
at
like to see
WrestleMania.
Vince put in that situation, in the octagon, not in the wrestling ring, but in the octagon.
Oh boy.
Let me tell you, Mike Tula, what Vince McMahon has said about the UFC. People die. It's barbaric. You know,
I have
why would
never seen
Nobody's
or heard of
died,
anyone
have they?
dying in the UFC.
I mean, I haven't seen it. Call me ignorant, but I think, the sport of boxing is more dangerous because it's more sustained punishment.
Amen.
Right.
Over and over. UFC, usually it's one shot that drops you,
And
or
the
you
re-
get submitted. It's still
To
dangerous.
tap out, yeah.
And
But-
the referee gets in there and breaks it up
Right.
fast.
Right.
If anything, I would say wrestling could be more dangerous.
It
because,
Right.
I mean, you're talking about even like a match, like a hardcore match, where you have the tables and ladders and chairs and all that, and I mean, there have been
Something can go wrong.
Something can go wrong.
Vince McMahon, he's a very intelligent guy. He's just talking. He's just
Oh, he's not that. Not when it comes to pop culture.
He's a fertilizer.
He's a businessman. He's not an I mean,
Well,
he
hey.
didn't know who Al Green was. There was a segment on Primetime Wrestling where Bobby the Brain Heenan mentioned Al Green's name. He said, "Al Green, who's that?"
Wow.
He probably didn't care who he was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
He didn't make any money for him.
I'm not kidding you. Yes, Barack, I see you off camera. He did not
I'm just
know.
saying.
He didn't. That shows you Vince McMahon. And but what was I going to say very quickly about the whole UFC thing? Also, Vince McMahon. Let me tell you this. He said, "Did you hear that women are going to be fighting in the octagon?" And CM Punk said, "That's not going to sell. That's going to be great. People are going to love it." And they have.
And they are. Ronda Rousey, she's kicking it.
What do you guys think, just very quickly, of her being a wrestler? You think it would work?
I think it would.
I do too.
think
Who,
she's
Ronda
got
Rousey?
Yes.
Big time.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, she's got the cachet, she's got the
physique.
the talent, as an MMA fighter, and she's in the Entourage movie now too, so she's
Yeah.
bringing a
And
lot
guess
of
what?
buzz.
She's a fan of wrestling too.
Yes, she is.
She comes and sees some of the shows. She has enough money to waste, I guess. So
It's like a glove,
it does. And her promos. She does promos.
Yeah, she was in Expendables 3.
She doesn't
There
really
you
do
go.
interviews. She does.
It's all
promos.
about draw. If you have a huge fan base, you can make a lot of money for people. You go anywhere.
I mean, Mayweather had one a wrestling match in his entertainment career.
A wrestling match?
With
Yeah,
Big Show.
the Big Show.
Oh, that's right.
At
No, yes,
WrestleMania.
yes, you're right. Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Although I'll take Karl Malone, Dennis Rodman over
Oh,
that wrestling
my
match.
God.
any
Did you
day.
see that one?
Oh yeah.
With the-
I still remember him driving up in that big monster truck. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh,
Dennis
Dennis Rodman.
oh my goodness.
Karl Malone, what did he do? The diamond cutter?
Yeah. Now Rodman worked better.
Rodman.
Actually,
Rodman
looked
is
like
actually
Rodman's weird enough to work in wrestling.
Yeah.
He's
Maybe he was in the wrong sport.
he's a character on his own.
Oh yeah.
What about Jay Leno?
Oh no! Kevin Eubanks probably worked better than.
Oh,
Did you ever see that Mike Jay Leno?
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking he was gonna do like a chin drop.
What was worse? But yeah,
Oh.
I don't know what was worse, David Arquette or that. I don't know. But I tell you what, folks, we're going to have to wrap it up. We'll see you in 2 weeks right here. Until next time, this is Jimmy Anderson reminding you the best addictions are the safest addictions. Goodbye, everybody.